I don't care how good or how bad the New Orleans Saints are this year. I will guarantee that Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady will call a Saints game at the Superdome this year. And I should be able to tell you which one it is too. Welcome everybody to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Guerin, representing the 904 from the 602, and today we have a lot to talk about with the NFL schedule. A lot of videos coming out on the horizon, so make sure you hit that like button and that notification bell so you don't miss a moment of the action when we do post a video, because we're posting a ton over the next day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. We're posting a ton on this channel, and we're going to start with something that a lot of people might not have paid a lot of attention to when they looked at the schedule for the first time. The question of, when will Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady go to the Superdome to call a Saints game? Now, you might be saying, okay, why would the number one pairing of Burkhardt and Brady go to the Superdome guaranteed? Because usually they go to the best game that Fox has, the one that's going to have the most eyeballs on them. Why would they go to the Superdome for a game? Well, that's because Super Bowl 59 is being broadcast by Fox, and the Super Bowl will be held at the Superdome down in New Orleans. And all these networks like doing a dry run for the game in the preseason and the regular season, one of the two at least. They like doing a dry run with everyone to test some camera angles, get a feel for the land, get everything situated so they get everything set up for the Super Bowl so it goes off without a hitch, even more so than it usually does. As an example, last year, why did Jim Nantz and Tony Romo, the number one pairing on CBS, do a game between the Patriots and the Raiders when the Patriots were 1-4 and the Raiders were 2-3? Well, that's because Allegiant Stadium was hosting the Super Bowl and it was being broadcast by CBS. 2018, the Falcons were 4-7 entering their game against the Baltimore Ravens. Why the heck did Nantz and Romo call that game? Well, that's because Super Bowl 53 was being broadcast by CBS, and Jim Nantz and Tony Romo called that game. 2016 and 2019, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, the number one pairing on Fox at the time, called a preseason game. They called the Cardinals-Texans game in 2016 in Houston, and they called the Dolphins-Jaguars game in 2019 down in Miami. That was the only game they worked in the preseason. They usually don't work in the preseason, but they worked that one. Why? Because those two stadiums, NRG Stadium and Hard Rock Stadium, respectively, had the Super Bowl that year, and Fox was televising the Super Bowl. We know this year it won't be a Saints preseason game with Brady on it and Burkhardt on it, because they're saying Brady's debut is Cowboys-Browns. You're not going to waste Brady's debut on a preseason game, especially because people are going to tune into Cowboys-Browns to think and realize how good or bad Brady is at doing his job as a color commentator. And if you use him in the preseason and he doesn't perform well, it's not going to be good for the network. It's not going to be good for the ratings in the grand scheme of things. So we know it's going to be a regular season game. Now, the Saints have 9 regular season games at the Superdome this year. Remember, it's an even number year. So the NFC teams each get 9 home games. The AFC teams get 8. Next year will be reversed. The AFC gets 9, the NFC gets 8. So of those 9 games, which one will Burkhardt and Brady be on the call for as their dry run for the Super Bowl? Which game, no matter how good or bad the Saints are, will feature the number one pairing of Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady? Which still feels weird to say that Tom Brady is on the number one pairing. Well, we can eliminate certain weeks off the bat. Week 1, they play the Carolina Panthers. We know it cannot be this game because they already announced that Burkhardt and Brady are doing Cowboys-Browns. We know it won't be week 3 when they play the Eagles because Fox has the doubleheader that week, and they've got America's Game of the Week with Ravens at Cowboys. You know that Burkhardt and Brady are going to be on the call for that one. Usually when you're deciding what week you're going to pick for the game for the number one pairing in a Super Bowl dry run, you're going to pick a week where you have a single header and where the games on the schedule are not very good in the grand scheme of things or on paper. You're going to pick one of those. So a doubleheader week, it's not going to work out. Same thing with week 6 against the Buccaneers. It will not be this game because Fox has the doubleheader with America's Game of the Week with Lions at Cowboys. You know that Burkhardt and Brady are on the call for that one. And we know it can't be week 7 against the Broncos because that game is not on Fox. That game is Thursday Night Football on Prime. Now, week 15 against the Commanders won't be that game for that same reason of the doubleheader. Fox has a doubleheader. CBS also has a doubleheader, but Fox has a doubleheader with Steelers-Eagles. Burkhardt and Brady, barring flex scheduling, will be on that game. And week 17 against the Raiders, it will not be that one. Fox has a doubleheader with America's Game of the Week, and you know they're going to be on the call for the Cowboys-Eagles game. So really, that leaves 3 weeks that Burkhardt and Brady will be at the Superdome. They're going to do one of the 3. They won't do all 3, obviously, but they'll do one of the 3 as their dry run. You have week 10 against the Falcons, week 11 against the Browns, week 13 against the Rams. All three of those weeks, Fox has the single header, so Burkhardt and Brady will not call America's Game of the Week. But I have a pretty good feeling of those 3 weeks. I know which one Burkhardt and Brady will be on the call for and which one they're going to do their dry run at. So week 11 against the Cleveland Browns. It's a single header. Fox has 5 games that week. However, one of those games is Packers at Bears. And that might be the best 1 o'clock game of the week. It's by far the best game Fox has that week. And it's going to be shown in the vast majority of the country. Browns Saints probably going to be pretty localized to the regions where the Browns have fans and the Saints have fans. Packers at Bears, probably the most portion of the country, the largest portion of the country, I should say, will get that game. I'm thinking of the TV maps here. You got Rams Patriots that week. That's going to be shown in northeast of the country and Southern California. Browns Saints, you figure Ohio, maybe Mid-Atlantic region, extending to Baltimore, parts of it at least. But that's about it. Saints, you'll get parts of the South, but again, that's pretty much it. Seahawks 49ers, West Coast north of SoCal, but that's it. Falcons Broncos, that's probably a game strictly in the markets of those teams. And Packers Bears, they'll get the rest of the country. Roughly 60% of the country, at least 50%, is going to get that Packers Bears game. You could get New York, the number 1 media market in the country. You get Chicago, obviously. You have to get Chicago because the Bears are playing in that game. You get all of Texas. All of Texas is going to show that game. Dallas Fort Worth at 5, Houston at 6. You could get Philadelphia at 4. You could get Washington, D.C. at 9. 6 of the top 10 media markets. At minimum, you figure 5 of the top 10 media markets are going to get that game. So you figure Burkhardt and Brady will be on the call for that one, so they will not be at the Superdome to call Browns against the Saints. Week 13 against the Rams, again, is a possibility. It is a single header, and Fox has 5 games that week. They could do that. The problem is that you have Seahawks at Jets that week. And once you commit to doing a dry run for the Super Bowl, that's locked in. You're not going to take them off. You're not going to take off Burkhardt or Brady. You're not going to take off the number 1 crew once you commit to a dry run, no matter how good or bad the teams are. And TV networks in the NFL are going all in on the Jets this year. You saw that with the release of the schedule. 7 of their first 11 games are in prime time or in front of a national television audience if you count the London game. They're going all in on the Jets. They believe in the Jets. They believe in Rodgers. You have the New York media market. You figure as things stand, Burkhardt and Brady could be on the call for that game with the Seahawks and the Jets. So probably not going to be Saints-Rams. That might not be a huge TV audience. So week 10, probably your best bet. It's a single header. Fox has 5 games that week. And you look at the games that Fox has, there's nothing really that catches the eye in terms of Burkhardt and Brady have to be on the call for that. Maybe 49ers Bucks, but you can easily put in the number 2 pairing of Joe Davis and what would probably be Greg Olsen on that game. Saints Falcons, you'll get a pretty nice split of the country. You'll get the southeast portion of the country for the most part for that rivalry game. It could mean something in terms of the division. I think that's going to be the game that Burkhardt and Brady will be on the call for because of the lack of competitive matchups on the schedule. I shouldn't say competitive matchups, but lack of appealing matchups on the schedule, at least with the eye test. The fact that there's no game that they have to call, like Packers-Bears in week 11 or Seahawks-Jets in week 13. I'm leaning towards Saints-Falcons being the game that Burkhardt and Brady will be guaranteed to call at the Superdome, no matter how good or how bad the New Orleans Saints are this year as their dry run. It will be one of the 3, Saints-Falcons, Saints-Browns, Saints-Rams. One of those 3, Burkhardt and Brady are going to be on the call, and based on the schedule, I'm leaning towards Saints-Falcons in week 10. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, lots of questions about Tom Brady's debut. Lots of questions about Fox will handle the Super Bowl when that comes in 9 months' time in terms of updating their graphics package, since every network updates their graphics package during that game. A lot of interesting questions. A long, long ways away. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But Burkhardt, Brady, I'm guessing we'll get the Saints-Falcons game week 10. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you think Burkhardt and Brady will get a dry run at the Super Bowl or at the stadium that hosts the Super Bowl like they always do? Do you think it will be Saints-Falcons? What game do you think they will call at the Superdome if they call one at all? And how do you think the Saints are going to do this year? Do you think Dennis Allen gets fired? Do you think they win the division? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. That's going to do it for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.